Uh, hey everyone, we're picking up where we left off after talking about these kind of random samples, and now we're going to talk about a couple of non-random ones. So realistically, most data that at least I'm familiar with comes from actually a non-random sample. And so the first is called a convenient sample. And so that is just getting a sample based on what cases are the most, or like the easiest, or the most convenient is where the word comes from. So based on what cases are the easiest for you to obtain. So remember we were like talking about that lakes example, and so sampling, one example of that in the lakes example context could be sampling maybe the 100 lakes that are closest to your house. All right, so that's convenient because you don't really have to travel that much and all the lakes are close together. But you might kind of see where this is headed down with bias, and that those lakes that are closest to your house could be very, very different from the overall population of lakes in the United States. Like maybe you live in a super pristine area and the lakes closest to your house are a lot cleaner than lakes in the US. And so we'll kind of see where this convenient sample could get us into a little bit of trouble. For a volunteer sample, that's another really common way to get data. And so in this example, cases choose whether or not they're in the sample. And so for the lakes example, this is a little bit hard to think of. Lakes can't really choose. So volunteer samples, the most common examples are involving people. So for lakes, this is kind of hard to think of. Um, but you could think about maybe a volunteer sample could be like reviews for a product on Amazon. And so, you like go to buy a tea kettle on Amazon. I'm looking at a tea kettle, so that's what popped into my mind. And you see one person gives it 5 stars and is like, oh, this is like the best thing I've ever bought. And then the next person gives it 1 star and is like, don't ever buy this. It was the worst decision of my life, and blah, 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 blah. So, volunteer samples tend to not be as representative because they ignore all of the people that have the more moderate opinions. So you'll get people that are really passionate and positive about a product or passionate and negative. So you could also kind of see this play out in like the YouTube comment section. Ugh. So that's a nasty place usually, but you could see the people with really extreme opinions, whereas most people who watch the video are probably just like, like it's fine. So these types of samples can lead into bias, and we're going to kind of pick up here during class. And so in class, we'll kind of finish off the rest of this page. We'll talk about this YouTube video example, and then after that, we will move on to observational studies.